because I think everyone craves a bit of connection. You know, we're so in the digital world, we can be so disconnected and so absorbed in our own kind of bubble that it's like, I think people really crave real experiences and real connections with people. So when you can deliver that in whichever way, whether that's performing or online, you know, that satisfies something for you and for them, you know.
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance Music Radio and Podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
Hey, this is Bree Noble, and you are tuned in to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast, where we talk about making great music, connecting with your audience, and growing your business. My interview today is with Australian artist Prita Grealy. We have some really interesting conversations, and she's got a lot of experience touring, especially in Europe. You'll also absolutely love her accent. So without any further ado, I don't want you to have to wait any longer to hear my interview with her. Here's some information about Prita Grealy. Prita Grealy, Australian hip soul folk live loops. Once you experience Prita's exceptional live loop show, you'll be hooked by her soulful rhythmic songs and captivated by her stunning vocal performance. It's easy to see why European audiences are sitting up and taking notice of the captivating musician from Fremantle. After supporting the likes of Simply Red, John Paul Young, and Ed Kowalczyk of the band Live, Prita moved to Berlin to pursue her international touring dream and has been busy touring Europe and the UK ever since. Here is my interview with Prita Grealy. So that's a little bit about Prita Grealy. So Prita, is there anything about yourself that's maybe unique, different, something that's not mentioned in your bio that's a little more personal that you think our listeners should know?
Yeah, probably a lot of stuff. When I got this question, I was kind of like, oh, what should I tell you? There's like so much juicy stuff. But probably one of the most juicy things is that I was brought up with my parents following an Indian guru.
Oh my gosh, that is different.
Yeah, really different. So I grew up in like small country towns in Australia, like moving all the time. And my family were wearing orange and red and beads and doing meditation and incense and stuff. So I was kind of like the weird kid at school most of the time.
Wow.
Yeah. That's something about me.
That is really interesting. It's not the same one that that movie is made about, is it? The Rajneesh guy?
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
It is.
So
there
awesome.
You go.
Yeah, so it's that documentary like a few weeks ago.
Fantastic. Yeah. I haven't watched it yet. My uncle just recently showed me a couple of like snippets and I was like, oh man, I have to watch that. Like,
no, you have to watch it. But so you never came to the United States?
No, I didn't. And my parents didn't go to the United States either, but they went to India. They went to Pune where he was had an ashram there. Mm-hmm. But my uncle, he actually worked in the ranch in wherever it was, the middle of nowhere. He actually worked there as on the land. Yes. Yeah. So he knows a lot about it. So I was like, wow, so interesting talking about it with him.
That is really interesting. Yeah, everyone, you should watch that documentary. Everyone that's listening, it is a really interesting documentary for sure.
Yeah.
And it's the name of it at the moment. Like we're in the interview, I'm sure it'll come.
Yeah.
But wow, that is really interesting. So you didn't end up like continuing to follow that as you got older?
I think it definitely had a big influence on me as a person and as like spiritually, I think it had a big influence on me. But also just, I think, there's positives and negatives of any way that you're brought up, I think. And for me, on one hand, it gave me a lot of freedom and a lot of very open mind about the world and people and experiences. But on another hand, sometimes there was a lack of boundaries and a lack of structure, which as a child you sometimes crave, So
or you don't know that you crave it even then. Once you get it, you're like, that feels good,
Yeah. So there's a lot of, and there's also a lot of stigma and stories attached to that whole thing, that whole thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the people that were in it and understood it, you know, mostly already had a great experience with it. And a lot of people on the outside looking in thought it might have been a cult or this or that. And for us, it really wasn't that, you know. I mean, maybe for some people it was, but for us, we were a normal family that lived in little towns, and occasionally we lived in communities where there was other families too. But most of the time we just kind of lived our own lives and did our own thing. And,
yeah, I definitely got that from the documentary that, like, you know, it, for everybody that was in it, it was amazing and normal and stuff. By the way, I just remembered it's called Wild Wild Country. That's the name of it.
There you go.
Yes. Haha. Not that
Check
we're going to make a whole interview about this, but it's really interesting. So definitely go watch that, you guys. All right. So let's talk about music. How did you get into music?
Well, I always sang ever since I was very little. And my parents gave me a little classical guitar when I was about, 3 or 4 years old. And I remember holding it and it being almost bigger than me. Mm. And I'm left-handed. So they actually had it restrung so that it would be like left-handed playing guitar.
Oh, cool.
But I kept turning it over all the time. So I'm like, oh, God, so we went to all this effort to make it a left-handed guitar for you. You don't even play it that way. So I play right-handed, but I just, so it was quite funny. But that's, I guess, how I really started. And then many years later, I actually started taking lessons when I was about 13 or 14, started doing classical because my best friend was doing classical guitar. So I wanted to do everything she did. And I only did that for about a year before I moved. And then I just ended up jamming with friends and joining bands and, just, bit of this and that.
So were you always singing as well?
I was always singing. I think singing's always been my first instrument for sure. Singing and performing in general. I loved being on the stage, loved doing drama and music and dance, anything to do with getting on the stage and performing. I just was like, pick me.
Mm-hmm. So did you have a plan to have a career in music, or did it just kind of organically happen?
I never didn't really have a plan for it. I guess I always wanted it and loved it so much, but I didn't think it was actually possible. So it really took a lot of like breaking through mindset and self-belief kind of stuff to actually start doing it as a career, because I really my last high school, because I changed schools quite a lot moving around. For example, my last high school was in Bega in New South Wales, and the small country town, farmland area. In year 10 we do like this work experience for a week or two, and I said to the guy, hey, I want to do dance in Sydney, and he's like, oh no, it's not possible. You can be a nurse, secretary, or one other. There was about 3 boxes you could tick.
Oh, thanks.
I was like, I don't want to be any of those things. So that was the kind of thing I was surrounded by too, very kind of closed-minded, thinking about what you could do as a career, Yeah, so I ended up getting around that, and just my dance teacher organised it for me, and that was great. Awesome experience. But yeah, when I left high school, I'd applied for a jazz conservatorium I auditioned to do jazz singing. And I went there and I auditioned, and I didn't make it through the audition, and I was really nervous and not really sure about the whole thing. And then so I changed all my preferences last minute to other things just so I could get a place in some university somewhere. Yeah, so I got accepted into these other courses and didn't do them, and just went off and worked instead. Yeah.
So at this point, do you consider yourself a full-time musician? Are you making your full-time living from music, or do you have some other kind of side gigs going on? I'm
a full-time musician now. Yeah.
Wow.
And I've been for about 10 years now, almost.
Wow.
Coming up to 10 years. Yeah. So how I really made that transition was I was working on a private yacht for a couple of years in the States, which was also incredible. And about halfway through that, I had kind of one of those moments, those life-changing moments where I was like, I can't do this forever. Even though it's amazing, it's not my heart, it's not my soul. I'm not expressing myself. And I realized in that moment I needed to start doing music and performing again. And so I said yes to every single opportunity that came my way. And I've started putting myself out there in front of asking bands hey, do you know where I can play? And every single person I asked offered me to come and open for them the next night, every single time.
Wow.
So, because I wasn't asking for any money or anything, I just wanted to do it, for the experience of just getting out there again.
How did you transition from that into the money part?
So I was, at that point, I was about halfway through working on the boat. So I was like 1 year into it or something. And so I still was working on the boat, and I was saving up a lot of money by working on the boat. And then just saying yes to every single opportunity that came my way. And about halfway through that next season, I got this really random, amazing opportunity through MySpace. Remember that?
Oh,
and I was like, "Is this for real?" It was an opportunity to work in Thailand for a month at a 5-star resort, playing 6 nights a week, 4 sets a night, playing music. And so I said yes to it because that was my thing. I have to say yes to every opportunity that music comes my way. I said yes, and then I got there. I was like, "Holy shit! How am I going to do this? This is intense." And I hadn't played that much music in that amount of time ever in my life. And I'd said yes to this. So I was like, I have to figure out how to do this, So that was my first stint of actually making money. That paid really well. They paid for my flights. They paid really good wage for me to be there playing every night. And that kind of something clicked in my brain and was like, oh, maybe I could do this traveling thing that I love and play music and make money. Maybe there's a way, So I think, from that I did another 6 months on the boat, and then I decided to go home to Australia, and just because I had some savings behind me by that point, I thought, okay, now is my chance to really just go for it. So I've got some savings behind me. If it all goes to crap, then I can just, go back to the boats, or I can go back and do something else. But I just really decided to channel all my energy into like getting bookings and getting gigs and putting myself out to booking agents, and I got really busy doing that.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So, we have a lot of musicians that are just starting out or are struggling, or maybe in that mindset thing that you were talking about where they don't actually have a career with music. So is there any story that you could tell them from your journey that, a time period when you were like, oh my gosh, this is not working. I'm frustrated. I feel like I need to give up, but you pushed through it anyway. And what you learned, how you kept going.
Yeah. I'm think like when I think about that, it's like there's so many times when I've had to push through that. It's like there's not like one defining moment when I've gone, oh, I feel like giving up. It's like it's a thing that comes back every now and then, and it goes. It's like, man, this is really hard right now, or I'm not making enough money, or I'm just getting rejected from some things that I want to be doing, and the disappointment and having to like really deal with that in yourself. But I think it's just really a matter of like kind of almost nurturing yourself and going and talking yourself through it and going, hey, think of all the positive things that have come your way. Like count up all the compliments you've received for your music or for your performance or your voice or whatever, your songs, and like weigh that against this one or two things that are kind of kicking you down. Because sometimes the things that kick you down feel like the biggest, hardest thing. But if you look at really the balance of it, you're getting just as much, if not more, positive stuff. And that can pull you through sometimes.
That's really good. That's really good. I totally encourage any, musicians that I work with to keep like a file, whether it's in your computer or, I keep a segment of my email stuff, folder that says testimonials or, some people call them like, fan responses or my happy
or praise
or whatever,
praise.
And just the things that you can go to remind yourself that like, there's that one frustrating thing, but there's all those other amazing things that happen.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to be kind to yourself, because it is it can be a very hard industry to work in. And there's a lot of rejection that you have to face for all kinds of things. But it's like that thing, you've got to knock on 100 doors to get through 10, whatever. But you will get through those 10,
Yep.
And then it'll be worth it. It'll be worth all those ones that said, nah, not interested. No. Mm-mm. And then you'll get these 10 amazing things that happen, and you're like, oh my God, that was so worth pushing through because finally I got those 10 things,
It's so true. It's so true. And I think we think that this is just isolated to the music industry, and it isn't. Like that, have any of you ever worked in sales? Like it is a nightmare, of trying to get people to say yes to you. It's the same thing as what we're doing as musicians. So it's, there's a difficult part to every profession, I think. And for us,
sure.
It's like getting those bookings and, getting ourselves out there and having to deal with that rejection.
Yeah.
So let me just totally flip the conversation here, because
Sure.
I was looking at, your website and what you do, and I was really intrigued by the fact that you use a looping machine when you're performing.
Yeah.
I've had a friend that performs like that, and it just amazes me, because for me, being able to play and sing at the same time was hard enough, but being able to think about this whole other thing going on, I think it's an absolutely awesome way to perform, and it just makes it so interesting and cool, and you can do it all yourself and not have to have a band. How do you do that? Like, what is the learning curve for being able to do that, and how much like multitasking has to go on in your brain when you're performing to do that?
Yeah, I guess when I first got it, I always think of myself, or I thought of myself before, as a technophobe. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to even plug it in, and what does it do? And it took me such a long time, even after I bought it, to actually sit down and plug it in and learn how to use it. And probably about 6 months of playing with it at home and just mucking around on it before I could actually had the confidence to take it to the stage with me and just try some of the things I'd been doing at home. And I guess I just started with some really simple things, like some simple harmonies and just one or two things just to build up choruses and stuff. And then over time, you just like, I actually find that I quite often just improvise at a gig, and I just try something new at the gig on the moment,
Wow.
Because why not, because it does become a part of you. It really does become a bit like riding a bike or driving a car, because mine has just got the 2 pedals. So it's quite a simple one. So you've got the record on one side, record play on one side, or the stop and delete on the other side, basically. And for me, it's all about the time. The timing is the main thing. So once you've got the timing and you're really feeling the timing of the music in your body, it's so much easier just to like press that at the right moment to record. And when you've got the right timing for a loop, everything else kind of falls into place, I find.
Right. That makes sense. I think,
yeah.
I mean, I was even just thinking of it of like having stuff pre-recorded and then performing it, but like doing it live, recording something while you're going. And then, wow, that's just, it's pretty amazing to me, I think, because it does require like so many different facets of your brain and a lot of focus, I think.
Yeah, I guess it does. And I think for me, I was just really like, I saw Katie Tunstall do it years ago, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. I want to do that. And because I've always been a huge fan of harmonies and voices, so I was like, for me, harmonizing is quite natural, and I love doing it. So I was like, oh, maybe I could do it myself if I had a loop pedal, and wouldn't need a band, wouldn't need like other people to sing with me, and just how much easier it is to organize one person as opposed to 3, 4, 5 people.
It makes such a difference, right? You can't. It's so hard to book things when you have to be constantly conferring with these other people. Can they do it?
Yeah. And like, I love playing with a band, and I still to this day, like I really enjoy it when I get the chance to play with a band or jam with other people. It's like, it's such magic when you have different energies on stage, but having the independence and freedom to do it by myself is also awesome. And I love that. Because like, yes, I can go anywhere, anytime. Someone can call me now and say, what are you doing on Wednesday? And I'll be like, okay, yep, I can come,
Yep, absolutely. I just love that mobility that you have being a solo artist. So I wanted to find out, since you're from Australia, how did you become so plugged into the European market? Because I noticed you're just doing tons of stuff in Europe.
Yeah, I guess like, I think it started because I was just so curious, and I love traveling. Like, I just love it. So for me, it started off as a passion for travel and adventure. And I did one trip to Europe backpacking years and years ago. And I actually, that time, this is a great story actually for people that are struggling. So the time I went backpacking, I left Australia. I left everyone and everything that I had there. Big decisions to do that, just because I really needed to just go and see the world. Like, I just had this burning desire inside me that I have to just go and see what else is out there, And so I had this massive backpack that was way too ridiculously big. And I had my guitar, and I lugged it all the way around Europe thinking that I would play gigs. Didn't play one single gig, not one. But I took that guitar with me because it was like a little comfort blanket almost. But at that point, I was not confident enough to book and play gigs. I wasn't, I'd played gigs in Australia, but it felt like such a big, scary thing to do it in Europe. I was like, oh, I don't even know where to start. And I just think it's really funny that I actually took the guitar, I carried around the whole everywhere. Like, I went to lots of countries, didn't play one gig. And then years later, after I did this, this stint on the boat and then went home and became a full-time musician, I got a lot more confident at performing and booking. And then I started booking my next European tour, and I did 2 European tours from Australia. So came over for 2 months and just went all over the place, anywhere I booked a gig. Basically just made ends meet, didn't really make a lot of money, but I had great experiences and, really satisfied that travel bug in me. But then I went home to Australia and I was just like, I just want to go back. I want to stay over there, because it just felt like there was so many, for me, it felt like so many more opportunities to play and in so many different countries, and everything's so close together there compared to Australia.
It's true.
Australia's a bit like the States, I mean, a little bit different. We have to travel for like maybe, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 8 hours to play to a crowd of maybe 30 or 40 people.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like,
wow.
And you're like, is it really worth the money and the time and the traveling, the effort to tour? That's from the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, things are a bit closer together. But even then, like flying from East to West is like $500-$600, just for that one flight. And then you've still got to book cars and accommodation, whatever. So it just felt like a lot more opportunity, a lot more people in a lot smaller space. And then I could still explore the world, do this traveling adventure stuff.
That's awesome. I love that. I love to travel too. So I love that combination.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all that you've done, all the performing, all the really cool traveling and everything, is there anything that you would say, oh my gosh, this is so mind blowing. I can't believe this happened. I'm pinching myself that I even got this opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of times when I've had those moments where I'm just like, wow, look at where I am right now. Like a lot of the countries I've been to, where I'm even just the other day, I was playing in St. Moritz in Switzerland. And like I play there every year. I play a gig there in an after ski bar, and it's a cool little gig. But just like in the day, I was just like trekking through the forest and like walking to this other town and just like having a moment where I was like, wow, I'm like literally on top of the world in this amazing place. I get to play music every night. My life's pretty bloody awesome. Like this is amazing. That was, just one example of like, wow, and really pinching myself going, I'm so happy that I've chose this path and this is how far I've come. It's worth all those struggles and all those, doubts and whatever. It's totally worth it to get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you get to experience so many things that we don't.
Yeah. And, and there's other times when, I've met some really amazing heroes of mine, like famous musicians where, like in Australia, I did a support for the guy from Live, Ed Kowalski from Live.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I love Live.
Yeah, and like I bought their CD when I was like 17 or 18 and listened to it religiously for a year, burnt it out and sang all the songs. And then when I had that opportunity to do his support, it was just me with my loop pedal, and then he was playing after me solos. I was like, oh my God, like that was an incredible moment to like meet someone that I had idolized and had been like this untouchable person. And then suddenly to just be playing a gig alongside, basically, I was just like, wow, that was. And then he came in and had a chat after the gig and was really nice and complimentary and stuff. I was like, wow, this is cool. This is
definitely
really sweet, really sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your streams of income. Obviously, you get a lot of income from performing live, but how does that look? Like, are you still selling CDs at gigs? Are you selling online downloads? Do you have any like licensing? How does it kind of flesh out?
For me at the moment, the main source is probably from live gigs because I do a lot of touring, and then royalties from those, like live performance royalties from those gigs. In Europe, I still sell, depending on which country. Some countries they still buy CDs and some are more like digital downloads. So I do both. Pardon me. What else? I'm just starting to get into music licensing. So I've had a few bites of people interested in stuff. I haven't actually licensed anything just yet, but I'm sort of on that cusp, I'm doing a lot of work towards it and study towards it, and I'm applying for things. What else? Oh yeah. And then my e-course, my singing e-course, and I do a little bit of coaching sometimes too, just like one-on-one coaching. So that's my main,
And is your one-on-one coaching like usually in person or online?
It's online.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And how do people find you? Do you just kind of meet them along the way and they ask, can you mentor me?
Yeah, I meet a lot of people just, randomly, but I actually have a lot of people email me randomly as well, like a lot of musicians that are coming to Europe and just have seen somewhere online that I'm playing a lot of gigs and they're like, oh, hey, could you help me get some gigs, or have you got any tips for me? And I have even like done some booking for some musicians that have come over from different countries and whatnot, or I've just kind of passed on some details, but it's like I can't sort of exactly help every single person, like by booking gigs for every single person, because it's just too much time and energy, so not really worth the time and energy, so it's better sometimes then to do like coaching and help them find the right way to do it themselves.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah. And as far as CDs, so you are still seeing that people are buying CDs at gigs?
Yeah, it just depends which country. So like, Germany's good for buying CDs. Norway a little bit, England a little bit. And I think it also depends what kind of concerts you're doing, like much more CD sales at festivals or house concerts, not so much in pub gigs or,
Makes sense. You're having a lot more like personal connection with them at house concerts, and then festivals, like people come in expecting to want to buy stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, so that makes a huge difference as well, the type of gig for sure.
And what about like streaming income? Are you finding that Europeans are going on Spotify and listening to your stuff once they hear you at a show?
I think that's still just starting to happen. Probably because I wasn't really promoting it that much before. So I'm still learning as I go as well. What do I need to push now? Because there always seems to be so many fingers in different pies. What do I need to promote at this point in time? So I'm still just encouraging people at the moment to join me on Spotify, and I don't really make a lot of money from that at the moment, but maybe one day I will. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's just growing, and we're just getting started with that for sure. So, what are your favorite kind of gigs to book when you're performing? Throughout Europe, are they like festivals or more like intimate, like house concerts or pubs? What do you love to do? And are you booking them yourself, or are you having any help?
I really love doing. I love doing festivals. I think that's music festivals is a great audience, for live music, when you're playing, it's like, that's an ideal audience. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy some of the house concerts as well. And there's a lot of really intimate gigs that I do with like maybe up to maybe 50, 60 people. And that's in a small room in different venues, music venues, where it's like they're really sitting and listening and watching, and they're really engaged. And I love that, like that connection with people.
I agree. I'd much rather perform to 50 or 60 people that are really paying attention than 1,000 people that are not.
Yeah. It's like, it is such a different energy, And if you can play a gig to 1,000 and they're actually interested and connected and watching, then that's brilliant, then that's a great energy as well. But that's not as common as the smaller venues,
And are you doing all your own booking?
Pretty much, yeah. I do. I did have a booking agent for a few years. I've worked with a few different booking agents over the years, but at this point in time, I'm doing most of the bookings myself, and then I work in collaboration with a couple of agents that work with specific venues.
Oh, so got it.
That they'll always book through those agents for that venue.
So let me ask, because I have I work with a lot of students that are doing their own booking, and you're performing all the time. So you're spending tons of time actually performing. How much time do you actually have to spend doing the booking part? And do you feel like you are constantly running out of time to stay ahead of the booking curve? Or do they start to come your way and you don't have to do as much work?
It's a bit of both. I really love it when it comes my way.
Oh,
that's like the favorite time, when you've like put all this hard work in, and then like you're just kind of sitting back and going, oh, they're asking me for playing gigs. Yep. Sure, I'll do that. That's really nice. But I definitely feel like you have to be at least 6 months to a year ahead with bookings in Europe. A lot of venues book out, way in advance. So you just really have to stay ahead of the ball game or whatever. And I've forgotten what the question was.
No.
I've got brain fog.
What I was asking, but I found, like, for me, you're lucky that you're just like a single unattached person. That for me, I found that I would have to book like you said, 6 months to a year in advance, but like all the calendars that relate to like my kids' school and all that stuff wouldn't come out that early, or,
Right.
you know, when they needed to go to camp and all that stuff. And I'm like, I have to plan this far in advance. How am I supposed to plan around these other things when you guys won't even tell? Like oftentimes the school doesn't even know when the first day of school is until like May.
Wow.
For a day that is in August. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah, totally. And like, you know, when I did do some part-time teaching at one point in Berlin. I was teaching like some singing and guitar lessons in an after-school care type situation. And then that was interesting, having to be, you know, kind of work around the school system and the days that they had holidays or didn't have holidays. And when I had tours coming up and I would have to be like, I'm really sorry, but I've got to go. Like, I've got a tour. I can't, you know, that's already booked, like, since a long time, not changing it. Like,
yep, it is hard to fit those two kinds of lives together. That's for sure. Yeah. They don't get it. Like, well, just change it. No. Yeah. I've had this for a year.
Yeah, that doesn't work quite like that. It's like, yeah.
So how do you like to engage with fans online? Is there any way that you find is really good for you to engage with fans and attract new fans online?
Yeah, I feel like I'm really loving Facebook Lives at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Just too. Because I find it really easy just to talk to people. Like, I love people, so I love chatting with people. And when I see people online, I'm happy to, you know, chat away. And I've been trying to do, well, when I was like in Switzerland recently, I was doing this whiskey and warm-ups with Prita, you know.
Oh, so, like,
yeah, it was really fun because I love whiskey. So I was kind of like, I had this beautiful tiny little bottle of whiskey with me. And I would be getting ready for my gig, doing warm-ups anyway, and I'd be all dressed up ready for my gig. So it'd be like perfect opportunity to do a little quick live, do a song or two, say hello to people and just practice, you know, interacting and engaging with my fans, you know. And I found that like had so much interaction from people when I did that. Whereas other forms, like, you know, I do have obviously a mailing list as well, which I send maybe once a month an email out to people. And I do get sometimes people emailing back, which is really nice. But the instant kind of gratification, I guess, of when you do a Facebook Live and see people online and they're talking to you, it's kind of like,
I love that you can actually have a real conversation back and forth, you know?
Yeah, me too. I love it. That connection, you know, because I think everyone craves a bit of connection, you know. We're so, in the digital world, we can be so disconnected and so absorbed in our own kind of bubble that it's like, I think people really crave real experiences and real connections with people. So when you can deliver that in whichever way, whether that's performing or online, you know, that satisfies something for you and for them, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's true with our peers too. You know, that's one reason I created the female indie musician community on Facebook. Yeah. And I know you're a part of that and you are a really great contributor to that. And I just love that we can have this community of musicians where we can get that kind of support. So like, you know, you're out there touring by yourself and you can still have kind of this community online.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask you about your course. We talked a little bit about your e-course and how that brings in a little bit of income for you. What made you create this course, you know, that's basically singing for non-singers? Was there somebody or experience that inspired you to create this kind of course?
Yeah, well, I was just hearing like a lot around the place, like online a lot, and like just seeing people mention like, oh, I wish I could sing. Oh, I can't hold a tune. Oh, this. And I was like, I'm sure you can. Like, if you train yourself, I'm sure you can. Like, I don't think it's impossible to train a voice, you know, and to train your ear to be able to hear the notes and to be able to really tune in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was seeing it was actually, because I'm in a lot of different groups online for different, you know, entrepreneur things and mindset things and whatnot. And so I was seeing a lot of women specifically, you know, kind of mums and women that might have sung when they were a lot younger and then don't sing anymore, or might have had someone tell them that they couldn't sing at some point, so they just shut up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's so sad. That is so sad, because singing gives me so much joy. So much, you know, it just, if I've been sad for a while, I know I probably haven't been singing, you know. It's like, right. It's like if I sing, it just makes everything better. So I'm like, I've got to somehow be able to share this gift with other people, because I'm sure that other people can learn how to use their voices in their own way and just unlock whatever it is that needs to come out of them, just for expression and I think the voice is so powerful, not just for singing, but also the words you speak and what you ask for and what you put out there in the world. And so what a beautiful thing if you can help people unlock their voice,
Absolutely.
So,
do you find that a lot of your students are people that like have had this on their bucket list? Like they love music,
yes,
they want to learn how to sing, but they didn't have time.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you decide how to create this course, how to make it available online? And did you take, did you have a mentor in that?
Yeah, well, I actually, I've done a lot of e-courses and I'm currently still doing a lot of e-courses online. So I've been a student, I've been on that side for a long time, for many years. And I guess you learn a lot even being a student, like what works and what doesn't work and what's motivating and, what kind of delivery and format works as a student, from that side.
Right.
And then I actually bought someone's e-course about how to make e-courses. So,
I love it.
So that started off with the first project was to make an ebook and then put that out there. So that's what, we all did that. And then the next thing was to do an e-course and put that out there. So, so it was just kind of like following the step by step, like, okay, what do we do next? And it was a very much like a DIY kind of version of it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I know that there's a lot of platforms you can use, which are like Kajabi and Teachable and all these ones where they're like set up and you just kind of upload your information into that, which I think is fantastic as well.
I use Teachable and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great because it's like a system that is like flowing and works and it's like a proven system, Mm-hmm. But this one that I did was like more of a DIY. So you build it all from your WordPress website and, back from the back end, and so it's quite intense, to be honest, to create it.
Sometimes I think everything's going to fall apart,
Yeah, it was quite intense.
Impressive.
But it was also really, I felt so great once I'd done it. I was like, yes, finally. It had been in my mind for years to create something. And then this idea just felt a little bit easier than the other ideas I had, and I still have other ideas on the back burner, like bubbling away.
Right.
But this one felt like, I can do this right now because I know my voice inside out. I know how to teach voice. I've taught voice for years to kids and adults. And I'm like, sure, I can do that. Why not just make it like how I teach it,
Right. No, I think that's really inspiring. And, that's why recently when I had the Profitable Musician Summit, I had a whole day about teaching and, talking about being able to teach online and creating courses. Because I think that so many musicians have this like superpower that they do like in a way that no one else does that they can share, and they just don't have any clue how to get that online and turn it into something people can consume.
Yeah. And that summit, by the way, was amazing. I didn't get to watch all the videos because I was busy touring as well. But
a little busy.
I was a little busy, but I did catch whatever I could when I had time. And I was like, this is such great content. It's amazing. It's like impressive.
Thank you. Well, on that note, do you have any resources that you would recommend to musicians, whether it's about the business side, about the mindset side, as far as like self-development, any like books or blogs or anything that you've really used over the years?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely there's a fantastic book which I read years ago, and I always sort of go back to the exercises from it, called The Artist's Way.
Oh, yes. There's a bunch of people in my academy going through that right now.
Okay, yeah. Is it Marianne Williamson, I think?
No, it is Julia Cameron.
Oh, sorry, Julia Cameron. Yes, that's right. The Artist's Way, that was a really fantastic book to unlock that artist side, I think, and to really honor the artist side of yourself, because I think a lot of us, it takes time to actually accept that, we are actually artists, and to honor that side of us, because it's so important to give that space and time to develop.
Yep.
And not just push through and be like, oh, no, I have to just do this and do that and whatever. It's no, just allow yourself to be an artist. Artists need space and time to create, they need to have different experiences to get, inspiration. That's part of being an artist.
It's true. I think the constant struggle, for me working with students and for them is combining that with the goal setting and let's be productive and actually get something done and not just, go wherever the wind takes us as artists, right?
Yeah. It's such a combination of, the action and the structure side, and then that freedom and creativity side. You really can have both,
Yep.
Totally. Yeah, so that's one thing. And I think I like the CD Baby DIY podcast is really handy. That's like a free
great.
podcast.
I love that show.
There's a lot of gold nuggets in there. And then there's lots of e-courses that I've done which are great. And one of them, which is really good for mindset, that I found used to be called Lucky Bitch. Now it's called the Money Boot Camp. Denise
Duffield Thomas. Yes.
So
I have not dug into her stuff yet, but I've heard.
Okay. Yeah. She's one of my mentors, and like I've had, done her course for years, and I do it every round. You can do it again. And I've just found that's really, it's not just about money, but it helps with money as well. It's like really about breaking through a lot of mindset stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Those are great suggestions for sure. And
Thanks.
a lot of people talk about The Artist Way on this show, but no one's ever mentioned Denise Duffield Thomas. And it's been mentioned enough to me that I know I need to check into it for sure.
Yeah. Definitely do it. Cool. And for me, like, it's just, it's a lot of these courses that you do as well are about the community and the people you meet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've just met so many fantastic people through that course and others, but through that one, I've made really, really good friends through that.
It's so true. I mean, I'm taking a course right now on publicity, and just the people that I've met in there have been amazing. And, there's a handful of people that are in the music space that I've met there, and they're just awesome. So, it's not always the people that we have to meet in our own space. Like, I have plenty of friends that aren't musicians that I've met in other courses that have been really such great supporters.
Yeah.
I do, And then
exactly.
that little enclave of like similar thinking musicians that are in a course with you. And it's like, wow, like this is really synergy. Yeah, definitely.
And it's so great when you meet, like, you meet all these people online, and then you meet them in real, I always say in real person, like in real life, in real person, like you meet them and it's like, it's just as good, if not better. Like when you meet them in real life, it's like, wow, we really connect and resonate, and there's just some magic there,
For sure.
I love that.
Well, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you online, because I'm sure after hearing all the wisdom that you have here, they're going to want to connect with you.
Thank you. Well, I think the best way is either through my website, prita.com.au, and you can sign up to my email list on there and email me through that. You also get a free download of an album, as you do. Or you can also join me on Facebook, Prita Grealy on Facebook. I'm all over the place. So yeah, either way is like a great way to connect.
Yeah, in case you're just listening, it's Prita, prita.com.eu, right? AU,
sorry, for Australia.
I'm thinking Europe, but
close.
From Australia, and you're all over Europe. That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really, really great to
thank you.
Get to know you. Like
you too. In real person.
It's kind of the in-between stage. Like we're not in real person, but I'm actually seeing you, and
it's like in real cyber time right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Well, thank you so much for all that you've offered our listeners today. I really appreciate it.
Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by FEM168.com and FemaleMusicianAcademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.